Hey everybody, Ed Casper here. Our company's called Casper Ag Solutions, and today we're going to talk about a speaking engagement I had at a big national bankers conference out in Omaha, Nebraska. It's about a month ago. Really enjoyed it. Always loved doing those types of things. It was for Moody's Analytics, and they called me up. And originally, it started out we kind of wanted to talk about what I call the Buck Rogers side of things, the driverless tractors, driverless planters, satellite imagery downloaded to your sprayer and spot spray on the fly, and the sensors on your sprayer that can sense a weed and only spray at the weed and leave the rest of your crop alone, and sustainability. And you understand where I'm coming from. But the more we got talking and the more we identified that bankers are under a lot of stress too, it's not just the farmer, Mr. Banker is stressing as well. The more we identified this gap that's happening between the precision adapters and the non, and it gets a little wider every year. And they wanted me to kind of explain what precision ag means to someone who's not in the game every day. I said, okay. So the more I got thinking about it, I kind of dig that Moneyball frame of mind of, can we get things down to one number? And so I came back and I'm like, okay, I've got an idea here how we communicate some things, and they really liked it and we ran with it. And I think it's something that's going to be valuable to the row crop farmer as well, not just to Mr. Banker. So the first number I threw out there was 13. So I told Mr. Banker, if your customer comes in and says, hey, we're thinking about this, invest in that, spend this, blah, 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 come back to that number 13, because if you're planting normal populations at normal speeds with your corn planter, that corn planter is dropping 13 seeds per second per row. Now, I learned that from precision planting. I've done the math on it. I've done it out on my test stand. Sure enough, math checks out. You're dropping 13 seeds per second per row. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 row planter. If you figure it takes about 140 ears to make a bushel, got that from precision planting as well, and let's figure $4 corn because it's a good even number, that 24 row planter is putting down $32,000 an hour of revenue potential. Now, that's perfection. We know that we can't obtain perfection, but it's the only acceptable goal. I'm not even a Packer fan, and I know Lombardi and what he's talking about. So as you're looking at that planter pass, I want you to remember that number 13, because how are we going to control those 13 seeds per second to give us a harvestable ear, to give us something that's meaningful come fall? So that number 13 is pretty substantial. The next number, and I got this from the good folks at Genesis Ag, is 1.6. 1.6 ounces. That's really, really super small. That's a tenth of a pound. And if you look this, now it's a fluid ounce, but this is almost 17 ounces of water. I'm only asking you to understand 1.6 ounces of weight. If you can add 1/10 of a pound, 1.6 ounces to an ear of corn, if you're a 200 bushel producer, you've added 50 bushel an acre. At $4 a bushel, that's $200 an acre in revenue that you've increased because you found 1.6 ounces per ear. How do you do that? Well, I've been working a lot with Randy Dowdy this last maybe 2 years, and I think he's right when he says the difference between this producer and this guy is timing and attention to detail. And I think that's where that 1.6 ounces comes in. I think a lot of it can be done through selecting the correct hybrid and placing it on the right soil. Yeah, I'm a Beck seed dealer now, but there's a lot of good hybrids if they're placed correctly. You've got to have a good management program. Lately around here, I've been seeing fungicide. It doesn't just pay, it's almost required if you're really chasing some higher yields. I do believe my friends are right when they say sulfur needs to be treated more as a macro. And then if you get into micros, you start talking boron, zincs, and molybdenum, and that kind of stuff's up to you. But I would definitely be doing some trial and error, because 1.6 ounces, that sounds really easy to achieve. But it's going to be 50 bushel an acre, $200 an acre. How do we chase that small number to make that into a big number? And the final number is 12 GDUs. Now, we all know Randy, he does his flag tests. I know Precision was doing flag testing. There's really no excuse to not be flag testing your corn crop and your soybeans. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when I first started with Precision 10 years, 12 years ago, whatever, we started out saying, okay, if we're in 30-inch rows, 1/1000th of an acre is 17 feet 5 inches. Okay, get your tape measure out, lay it down. Okay, Mr. Farmer, what'd you plant? Well, 32,000. Okay, that means in 17 feet 5 inches, we should find 32 plants. It's not okay to plant 32 and get 26, 25. And believe me, back in the day, we were finding that. There was bona fide, embarrassing train wrecks going on. So that wasn't okay. That wasn't just, well, luck of the draw, well, Mother Nature, oh, it didn't rain, or oh, it rained too much. No, there's no reason for that. If you planted 32, we should have 32 plants. And then we got a little bit more picky and said we want 32 ears. Well, then we kind of looked down on those beer can ears and said we want 32 harvestable ears. And then we got into the flag test and emergence and said we want those plants up within 48 hours of each other. And what we've learned from Randy is it's not so much about 36, 48, 72 hours of that first emerger as much as it is 12 GDUs. If you can get that crop up within 12 GDUs, you still have 300 bushel potential. So what can we do to ensure that emergence within 12 GDUs? And we've found this to be true. My neighbor over here, Dale, had some plants come up on a Monday. The rest of them came up on Friday, but it was really cold that week. Really cold. We didn't accumulate hardly any GDUs. They put on equal ears, even though they were 4 days apart. I've also seen it where plants have come up a day apart, and there's a significant difference. The eyeball can immediately identify the huge loss that you've taken. So, a couple things. Number one, I can already hear you out there saying, Ed, I don't have time to flag test. I know you don't. I don't remember where I read it, but it said if you're an adult and you're not exhausted, you're doing it wrong. So trust me, you're doing it right. But you've got to find time. Now what I'm doing this next spring is I'm donating money to the FFA and 4-H organizations, anyone I can find, and say here, at 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. every day, do this flag testing, report back to me. We'll take it to scale this fall, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you have your wife go do it. Maybe you have your girlfriend go do it. Don't have them both do it because they'll meet up with each other. A lot of explaining to do. That's a bad deal. But you've got to find a way to get that data, because if you're going to manage something, you must be able to first measure that something. If you're going to lose weight, you need to go get a scale and a tape measure. That's how you're going to tell if you're getting the job done. With this corn crop, we want you to flag test to see where you're at. And I would also strongly encourage you to flag test your soybeans. We wasn't able to do it in 2019. We did it in 2018, and it blows your mind, the potential that's out there with the spacing and emergence on soybeans. So flag test that emergence on your corn. Let's get control of the numbers 13, 1.6, and 12, and take us to that next level where we need to be to survive. And I'm not going to say prices are good, I'm not going to say prices are bad, but we all know these are very uncertain times with tariffs and politics and taxes and 8-inch rains, and it's a struggle. It really is a struggle, but let's control the little things we can control. Now notice, I didn't say anything about you have to buy this, you have to buy that. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it, I can't help you, point you in any direction. So My number, as always, 309-208-0117. Feel free to give me a call if you want more information about this stuff. This is what I do every day of the week, chase down corn planters and talk about our corn crops. So thanks for watching. We'll be talking to you soon.